I want to be clear. I am all for winning at all costs. I think that if you are playing in a competition, particularly a major international competition, that you should do whatever it takes in order to win that game. I think that flopping is an officiating problem, not a player problem, right? I think that if you want to get that sort of thing out of the game, that you need to basically change the way the game is officiated. You need to start handing out cards in a different way. You need to allow VAR to point out obvious instances of flopping and then give those guys cards literally every single time. But I have not really ever been one to blame players for trying to win the game. Do you blame Maradona for putting his hand on the ball to score a goal, right in the hand of God moment? I don't. Right? I feel like if you can do it and get away with it, then do it. Right? I'm not talking about like major crimes here. I mean, there's a moral scale, but we're talking about a sport here. And I think that if you are able to win, that playing in the margins and doing all of the little things to allow you to win is something that is fine. I can live with that. I can accept that, and I would hope for my team to be able to do that. The problem is that all of this is before the word "but," because there was an instance of flopping in the Argentina-Canada game that is inexcusable. That is absolutely inexcusable and embarrassing. And I will never, ever have respect for this player again. Ever. Because there is a certain understanding, right? That flopping to accentuate contact, right? Flopping to make sure the referee notices something, flopping to make sure that you get a call, flopping to see if you can get a call is one thing. Fabrication, pretending that you got touched when you did not. Now you're just sacrificing your pride at this point. And it shouldn't matter, right? Because it's the Copa America semifinal. But you're also Argentina. And you're playing fucking Canada. Okay, you're playing a glorified hockey team. You get the easiest draw in a semifinal of all time because the tournament's rigged or whatever, insert conspiracy theory here. And you're up 2-0 with 30 minutes to go. Okay, obviously none of that should matter. Things can change quickly, right? It's a semifinal and you got to make sure that you win. I understand all of that. But you can't tell me this isn't the most fucking embarrassing thing you've ever... You would have... The things you would have to do to me to make me do this in public in a way that my family and friends would watch me flop like this, unspeakable. Watch this. From Rodrigo de Paul, who's already Messi's bitch. Right? Like this guy has already been caught in 4K just being like Messi's lapdog in a way that I always thought was kind of embarrassing, but also it's Lionel Messi. Like, I get it. I'd probably act the same way if I was around him. Like, I never held it over Rodrigo de Paul too much, but he always does kind of look like a golden retriever that's just waiting for Lionel Messi to pat him on the head. But this is just embarrassing. Right? Like, this is just embarrassing. Rodrigo de Paul's a world champion. He's got no reason to care about what I think. But this is fucking embarrassing. There you go. Oh, come on. Oh, just come on, dude. Come on. Oh, come on. The only reason Steven Eustachio touches him at all here, right at the end of this play, is because Rodrigo de Paul has already decided to flop. Like, look at his face. He's already decided to flop, and he throws his ankle into Steven Eustachio's boot here. Rodrigo de Paul sees Steven Eustachio's going in for a bad tackle. But you know what happens? Steven Eustachio pulls out of the bad tackle, which is the point. The whole point of fouls and cards is to prevent people from making bad challenges. Eustachio's winding up for this tackle, realizes he's being outpaced by Rodrigo de Paul, and so he just pulls out of the tackle. He shortens up his leg. You can see it, like he's there, and then he pulls his leg up short so that he doesn't touch Rodrigo de Paul, who then proceeds to act like he's been shot. I mean, seriously, like he's been shot. Hands right to the ankle, doing a Neymar triple roll. I mean, this is so embarrassing. If I was this man's great-grandfather, I would rise up out of the grave like Dracula, slap him across the face twice, say, if you do that again, family name, I'm coming back, and then go back to sleep for eternity. This is reverberating embarrassment. If this was a guy on my own team, if I was Argentine and I was rooting for this guy, I would be embarrassed. And I am somebody that is almost always firmly in the camp of, hey, flopping, you're trying to win. This is like, I totally understand. This is so stupid. This is so, just keep going. My God, you already blew by him. You've got a counterattack going. What's a yellow card against Steven Eustachio going to do for you? You score a third fucking goal, the game is over. Keep fucking running. You're gone. Eustachio's their midfielder. You're just go. Dude, what? Like, oh my, you're going to exert more energy trying to triple roll this flop than you are going to have to run down the rest of the field. You might as well just go. And you'll never guess who got a yellow card in this situation. That would be a 63rd minute yellow card for Steven Eustachio for tripping, because apparently he tripped Casper the Ghost, who then tackled Rodrigo de Paul on his way down. Okay, now this is obviously also a problem for the referee. And this is kind of what set Canada off. Canada was already losing 2-0, right? Argentina came out and played the game it needed to play, controlled the match, took it to Canada. Canada's inability to finish off opportunities, Canada's inability to finish, which has haunted it all tournament, that popped up as well. Canada could have made this a better game, but it didn't. And Steven Eustachio gets a yellow card here, which of course is not reviewable under VAR, right? Because it is a yellow card. I call bullshit. All right, if we're going to do VAR, right, good God, what's the point of having a video assistant referee? We can stare at a penalty for an hour. It takes somebody 2 seconds to watch this play and go, that's a flopping piece of shit. And then switch the yellow and let's get on with our lives. Okay, this shouldn't, no video monitor, no anything else. You can literally get on the headset and go, he didn't touch him. Eustachio was pulling out of the tackle. That's it. Now, there is an argument, right, to be made. And I'm assuming that if you're a referee who's on one of those post-game shows and you're like one of those referee analysts and you're like, well, Bob, why did they make this call? And they're like, well, even though he didn't make contact, right, that this was a threatening tackle. But I go back to the earlier point that I was making. The whole point of fouls and yellow cards is that you want these guys to pull out of these sorts of tackles. Eustachio fucking pulled out of it. It's not like Rodrigo de Paul jumped over his leg and that's the reason there was no contact, because then I totally understand your argument. Well, he made a dangerous challenge, and even though he didn't hit him, it was a very Rodrigo de Paul could have literally kept running in a straight line. Steven Eustachio would have never touched him. Ever. The only reason he touches him is because Rodrigo de Paul goes, and then rolls around for 5 minutes, right? Got to get the magic spray out. Thank God he's all right. I was worried his entire career was over after this unbelievably heinous challenge from Steven Eustachio. I mean, my God. And this was not the only time. Okay, Canada was losing its mind here. Not only that, I am obviously plugged into Canadian Twitter. And there were a lot of Canadians that were watching this, right? And it was really one of the first times they've ever watched the Canadian national team. I'm assuming they probably watched them at the World Cup as well. But they get all excited. The Canadian national team is in the Copa America semifinal. This is the moment. This is super cool for Canada, right? They're the last North American team standing. This is, there was a lot of people, whether it be hockey fans, whatever, like our hockey players, watching this game for the first time. Drake put $300,000 on Canada to win, obviously him being a native Canadian. And and this was embarrassing for them. I saw more than one, post from these people that were like, I stopped watching after that flop. What a soft sport. Unbelievable. Don't know why so many people care about this sport, this and that and the other thing. Like, if you guys wonder, right? Because I'm somebody that walks in both worlds. I was born and raised in the United States. My parents were born and raised in the United States. My grandparents were born and raised in the United States, right? I didn't come by soccer through some sort of outside familial influence. I came to it in a way that a lot of people in America now have come to it, through FIFA and video games and learning what the World Cup was and then having it on TV every weekend, right? I came to it naturally. But I also was raised in a world where high school football on a Friday night was the biggest, deal possible, and college football and NFL. And that part of me, and that side of me, and those friends that I have that have never watched a soccer match in their entire life, the reason they don't watch soccer is shit like this. Because they think the sport is incredibly soft. Now, obviously, if you've ever played a bunch, if you watch a ton, you know that soccer is not a soft sport, right? You know that there is a lot of physicality to it and tough challenges and big physical plays and players. But this sort of shit happens a lot, right? And it is the sort of thing that turns off new viewers, particularly from Canada and the United States, which are combined a market of over 400 million people. Right, that everybody's trying to get into the sport. Well, if you want to help that, right, I realize that you don't want to change the rules in order to make that a goal, right? You don't want to change the rules just so that Americans and Canadians can get into the sport. But can we all agree, whether you're from Argentina, whether you're from England, whether you're from Italy, whether you're from the United States, that this is some soft shit? This is Charmin ultra soft triple ply shit right here. It's terrible for the game. Nobody likes watching it. It is awful. And if we're going to have VAR slowing the damn game down, doing a bunch of stuff it doesn't need to do, VAR taking 2 seconds to look at this. Now, I'm not talking inviting the official over. I'm talking getting in the official's ear and saying, he did not touch him. This is not a foul. It is a Flophosaurus Rex that we have unearthed from 66 million years ago. Please get it out of the game and reverse the yellow card and play on. You've got to do that. Because if you are being a reasonable person, no matter where you're from in the world, if you're Canadian and this is the first match you've ever watched and you watch that, and it is not the only time that Rodrigo de Paul or Argentina did something like this in this game, it was the most obvious. Right? You're just going, oh, the sport is so soft. And you just turn it off. You just stop watching. And you're like, how many days till hockey season? Happy Gilmore, 364 days till hockey tryouts. Let's fucking go. Right? Like, I saw a lot of tweets like that. Obviously, they were upset that Canada was losing. That was a contributing factor. Right? But you sit there and you go, oh, why do we care about this sport anyways? This is a stupid sport. And can you blame them? If that's their introduction to the sport is Rodrigo de Paul pretending like he got shot by a sniper, the Canadian team, guys that play this sport for a living at a high level, were frustrated by it. Rodrigo de Paul goes down in a heap after getting sneezed on again. He's acting like he's, in some sort of dramatic scene in The Gladiator, like he's about to get up and get into some final apocalyptic fight. And Ismail Kone's had enough and just kicks the ball into him. And once again, Rodrigo de Paul looks like somebody's hit him in the lower back with a sledgehammer. I'm tired of this. I am completely tired of this. And the Canadian people that I know that were celebrating Ismail Kone said it was the best yellow card in the history of the sport. Although they're not very familiar, obviously, with the entire history of the sport, and I would have to agree with them. Rodrigo de Paul earned a slight kick of the ball into the lower back. Unfortunately, that probably cost the game the final 12 minutes because that was a 79th minute yellow card for Ismail Kone, and I would have to imagine that Rodrigo de Paul required open heart surgery to repair the damage that he must have suffered from that ball being kicked into his lower back. I could keep being angry about this for another 30 minutes, but I've got to go. I'm on the run, remember?